A lot of breaking news to begin this weekend. Let us start with the late statement that Canada Post says striking postal workers are being ordered back to work tomorrow. That effectively ends a month-long strike that upended the very busy holiday delivery season. And we begin our coverage with Angie Seth here in studio. What the union is saying, what Canada Post is saying, and when those workers will be going back to work.
Well, maybe a lot of Canadians sort of breathing a bit of a sigh of relief. December 17th is the day. That's when things are going to go back as of 8 a.m.
So that's tomorrow.
So good news there. The question, of course, is can they deal with all the backlog here? So let's kind of dial back a little bit here. So this is all coming now, of course, from a recommendation, the ruling that we heard about the Canadian Industrial Relations Board making. We heard the Labour Minister, Steve McKinnon, talking about this on Friday and agreeing with that recommendation to push forward to get employees back to work. Now, we know that weekend of hearings, as we heard, they did not go well. They ended at an impasse. So the result, of course, being now is we need to get people back to work. No response from the union on that, but they did respond to the government intervention, referring it to, and we've got a statement here from them referring to it as an assault on their constitutionality and their protected rights to collectively bargain and to strike. Meantime, Canada Post, in its response to all of this, is saying that they're committed, as always, to being to be able to reach the negotiated agreements. So they're committed to continuing to come back at some point to the bargaining table. When that will be, that's the interesting point. And that's not going to be until May 22nd, of course, because right now the minister has referred to things as we're at an impasse. So they've stalled things right now. There will be an inquiry, an industrial inquiry commission conducted by William Kaplan, appointed by the Labour Minister. On May 22nd of next year, will come with a statement or some level of contract or agreement that will be brought to both sides. As to whether or not they will agree to it, we will have to see. But in the meantime, as workers head back to work, Heather, they will be getting a 5% increase to their pay. So that's a bit of a good news right there. That will be retroactive from when those collective agreements ended. But Canadians, of course, are now looking, as you mentioned, tomorrow is when Postal Service is supposed to resume. Can they manage that at least 4-week backlog? That's going to be the big question, of course, as we are now well into the holiday season.
Okay, Angie, thank you very much. So we're just beginning our coverage there, and we'll continue to bring you more on the breaking details. This strike, the 4 weeks of it, came at a very bad time for Canadian businesses with the holiday season. Costs, inventory, everything's been building up since the strike began. And of course, there was that knock-on effect on courier carriers and express carriers. They too had elevated volumes. They too even had to impose restrictions on their shipments because they had such a demand as a result of the Canada Post strike. So let's bring in Scott to take a look at the impact on businesses and where things stand as the strike effectively comes to an end.
Yeah, there's a lot of damages to reputational damages to companies that were not able to get their products out to people. Checks were stuck in the mail, and so there's a lot of worry about how much damage this has done to small businesses really across the country here. We have some estimates as well from the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, and they have estimates, and they represent thousands of small businesses across country, and those are really the ones that have been in a precarious situation entering this holiday season with margins being very thin. But here's some numbers that they've shared with us, and this is since the strike has been ended. Millions of dollars have been frozen in the mail, making it difficult for small firms to pay their bills, never mind send their product out to some of these markets. Total losses by the CFIB are estimated in the neighborhood of about $100 million per day for each day that this strike went on. The total loss is pegged at about $1.6 billion. And again, this comes at a time when margins are already thin for a lot of these small companies, dealing with giants like Costco, Amazon, big box stores, damage to reputation, and also a busy time of the year for retailers to be making money as well. Now, it's important as well, but 3/4 of all small businesses out there say that they will now hesitate dealing with Canada Post in the future, and that's a real problem, a reputational damage for Canada Post as well, that relationship. Here's one shop owner in the Yukon in a remote territory. So this strike didn't just affect her, but a lot of the people that were dependent on her at the same time.
I've had to lay several of my team members off, which is not ideal before Christmas. It's not ideal any time, of course, but especially before Christmas and during winter, when up here in the north our bills are high, the cost of living and gas, and so the impact that has on, not just myself, but the people that I employ and support as well.
And the fear now is, has the season been lost entirely to so many retailers out there? And again, the damage to reputation, the relationship between these small businesses and Canada Post, and really the damage with Canadians as well, Canada Post, they could have, in effect, really hurt their own reputation with this very busy and very important time of year for a lot of small retailers out there.
Okay, Scott, thank you very much.